Hey, Mike. What? Who's got next?
What's good, y'all? It's your man, Hezo. Welcome back to the Blacktop, where I always got Nate, you feel me? So the conference finals is set. 2 teams I predicted would be there, 2 teams I did not. We got 2 of the top seeds, Nuggets and Celtics. And then we got 2 play-in teams, which I believe is the first time since the play-in tournament has been implemented that a play-in team got to the conference finals. You got the 8-seeded Heat, who nobody in their mom, except maybe Heat fans, shout the Heat fans out there, that predicted the Heats to get there. And then the Lakers, who not as surprising, right? You know, you got a team led by one of the greatest players of all time, in LeBron James, and then Anthony Davis, who geez, words are hard. Who has had an outstanding playoff run, especially on the defensive end. I did pick the Lakers to get there. I did pick the Celtics. I did not pick the Heat, and I did not pick the Nuggets. But I think we are in for a dogfight, and I cannot wait to watch these games. Subscribe if you are new. Drop a like on the video. No more talking. Let's get right into it. Now, real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to my guy on Instagram, Constant NBA, who has sent me a couple of trading cards. He sent me a DeJounte Murray rookie card, a Trae Young, I think, Panini card or Prism card. I have to go back and take a look. But he also sent me a DeAndre Hunter autographed rookie card. Now, I don't know if y'all can see that or not. And then also a Dominique Wilkins Prism autograph card as well. Big shout out to my guy, man. That is all love. He sent me that out of the generosity of himself. And I cannot thank you enough, because that means a lot to me that you would even think of me to send me that. I'm a big Dre fan. Everybody knows that. So he, decided to send me that. And then he added in the Dominique Wilkins card and the Trae Young and DeJounte card as well. And that's all love, man. And I cannot tell you how much that I appreciate that. And I cannot thank you enough for that. That is just a super awesome gesture from you, bro. And I really appreciate it. And just another real quick before we finally dive into the video, I'm going to be bringing the What If series. It'll probably return within the next week or so, after being on hold the last couple weeks because of the playoffs and everything. There's a little bit more gap in between games now, so I got a little bit more time to record those. So I'm going to probably look for those to return as soon as next week, so y'all be on the lookout for those. So let's talk about these conference finals matchups. We have a rematch of the 2020 bubble conference finals, which I want to talk about for just a second, because I've seen so many posts on Twitter that says that this is proof that the bubble was not a fluke and all blah 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 blah. Look, man, I'm not saying that the bubble was a fluke or anything like that. I think there's an asterisk on it, but at the same time, y'all gotta stop acting like these teams are the same exact teams that were in the bubble in those conference finals. For starters, the Lakers, entirely different roster, entirely different. There's 2 players that were on that championship bubble team, and it was LeBron and AD. The entire roster, there's not one player left from that bubble championship team. So everyone's saying that, this proves that the bubble championship was legit. This Lakers team's not the same. It's completely different. And you can fact check me on that. The Nuggets team, also different. That Nuggets 2020 bubble team did not have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, did not have Aaron Gordon. Those are 2 starting players that played pretty big roles in this conference finals run for the Nuggets. That, and of course, Joker playing out of his mind and playing at a higher level than he was in 2020. Now, for the most part, the Heat and the Celtics, those 2 teams are, relatively close to the same. But these 2 teams were also in the conference finals last year, and no one was saying anything about the bubble. Well, why is that? Now that it's all 4 teams in the bubble, now it's all of a sudden validated, but the 2 Western Conference teams were a significant different team than they are right now. I just don't understand that. I don't understand why people are looking over that. Like this same Lakers team has Patrick Beverley, has Alex Caruso, or was Patrick Beverley on that team? No, he wasn't. Rajon Rondo, that's who I was thinking of. Has Rondo, has Caruso, has KCP, has Kyle Kuzma, has JaVale McGee, has Dwight Howard. Those dudes aren't on the roster. Why is this even a topic that we're validating the bubble? Because these teams are now in the conference finals. Once again, it's not the same, and these ain't the same teams. Let's stop acting like it. Now that I got that out the way, let's talk about the semifinals and what I witnessed in those, because I got a lot on my mind, especially about the Philadelphia 76ers. And why not lead off with that? We watched one of the biggest choke jobs. Now, I had, a lot to say about Kevin Durant and Devin Booker after the piss poor performance that I saw from them in that Game 6 against Denver. But man, Joel Embiid and James Harden, y'all went out sad, pathetic, just unacceptable. The performance that I watched them in Game 7 against Boston, when Jason Tatum pretty much revived himself and really made up for the piss poor performances that he's had as of recent in this playoff run. He made up for that in Game 7 because that boy showed up and showed out, dropping 51, while Joel Embiid, I think, had 2 points in the first half. Or I'm sorry, 2 points in the second half. James Harden did essentially nothing, turning the ball over, could not shoot the basketball, which we know it. This is who James Harden is. And I don't understand when James Harden is going to start to get criticized and when people are going to stop talking about him like he's a top 5 shooting guard of all time. Because newsflash, he's not. This Sixers team, they have reached their peak. I do not think this team will ever see a conference finals the way they are constructed. Joel Embiid can't get it done. He's a fake MVP. He's a fraudulent MVP. Sixers fans, I'm sorry, but he had the largest drop off in NBA history in the playoffs from regular season to playoffs for an MVP player. Went from 33 to like 23 points a game from regular season to playoffs. That's pathetic. This is an MVP player. Averaged 33 and 10 in the regular season. Did absolutely nothing in the playoffs. And again, James Harden, yeah, he played well, in Game 1. I think Game 3 as well, he dropped 40. But if you look this up, this is a fact I saw earlier. James Harden, out of a player who has, I think, a minimum of, is it 25 attempts? I can't remember the actual stat, but 25 minimum attempts from three-point range in a Game 7. James Harden has the worst three-point percentage in a Game 7 for those that qualify. Let me repeat that in case y'all didn't hear me. The worst three-point percentage in Game 7s in NBA history. And some of y'all want to talk about James Harden as a top 5 shooting guard of all time. Are we serious? When are we going to stop giving him a pass? This dude constantly chokes in the playoffs every single year. This is who James Harden is. This is who Joel Embiid is. Joel Embiid is yet to make a conference finals. He is 0-5 in 0-3 in Game 7s. Joel Embiid is 0-5 in the semifinals. The Sixers have a lot to figure out. I think Doc Rivers has got to go. I voiced my opinion on Doc Rivers. I think he is a terrible coach. I've always thought he is overrated. Outside of his 2008 championship run, he's done nothing. Enough about the Sixers. Shout out to the Celtics. They got the job done. Jason Tatum showed up, showed out, and I give a lot of respect to him. I criticized him heavily after his Game 6 performance, but he revived himself in the fourth quarter and carried that over to Game 7 and was just incredible not even really the entire game. It was the entire second half. Pretty much the bulk of his points came in the second half, starting in the third quarter where he was just unconscious. And shout out to Jason Tatum because he just absolutely balled out, and he has gotten a lot of criticism before that game. I think he puts that to bed. Now, I already touched on the Nuggets and Suns series. I don't really want to touch on that too more. I already talked about the disappointment of Kevin Durant and Book, and again, I made a video on Devin Booker praising him for the historic playoff run that he was having with the numbers that he was putting up. And in Game 6, he just didn't show up. Had 12 points. Joker just dominated that entire series. They had no answer for him. Jamal Murray was incredible all series long as well. The Nuggets, to me, looking like the best team that's left in the playoffs. And I'm not going to make my pick just yet on who I think is going to the finals. But the Nuggets, they looking like the team to beat. Now, the Knicks and Heat series is one that I was excited for, but at the same time, I didn't want to watch it because I hate both teams. But with that being said, I watched every game. The Heat didn't play their best basketball. They really struggled to shoot the ball from 3. It wasn't the same three-point shooting that we saw in round 1 against Milwaukee, but ultimately they were still able to pull the series out because the Knicks they also looked completely different than they looked against the Cavs. Against the Cavs, they looked like a juggernaut. It looked like they were really a team to beat. Not the team, but a team to beat in the Eastern Conference, and we saw a completely different Knicks team. And Julius Randle, I'm tired of this dude. He is one of the, if not the worst playoff performer I have ever watched. And I've watched a lot of playoff basketball over my years. This dude is terrible. He is terrible in the playoffs. Yeah, he's a great regular season player. And I just got done ranting about James Harden, how bad he is in the playoffs. He's nowhere near as bad as what Julius Randle is. Julius Randle's shooting around 33, 34% for his career in the playoffs, and just does not show up in big games, constantly turns the ball over, constantly jacks up shots. He thinks he's Carmelo Anthony back in the Garden. If I'm a Knicks fan, I want this dude out of here. RJ Barrett, who had was having a solid playoff run up until the last 2 games. Game 6, he was terrible. RJ Barrett was so bad in Game 6, it was almost, he was unplayable. And Knicks fans are all over Twitter talking so much like, oh, RJ Barrett's the best player from the draft class. What are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, sure. I mean, if you look at the draft class, it's pretty weak. I mean, you have a player who can't stay out of trouble in John Morant, and then a player who doesn't stop eating, Zion Williamson. Sure, RJ Barrett might be the best, but you're not really putting him up against much. I think I picked the Heat to win that series in 6. They got out of there in 6, and I was very happy to see that. So the final series from the semifinals, Lakers and Warriors, LeBron versus Curry once again, and that was a pretty weird series, to say the least. Seemed like we got a close game, we got a blowout, we got a close game, we got a blowout. You just really never knew what type of game we were going to get from these two teams. I feel bad for Curry, man. He really did not have any help in Game 6. Klay Thompson was absolutely atrocious that entire series outside of Game 2. Jordan Poole, atrocious. Andrew Wiggins had his moments, but, you know, he missed 2 months. I'm going to give Andrew Wiggins a pass. Draymond was not very good. The Warriors just did not look like the championship team that we saw last season. Curry did everything he could. Yeah, he took a lot of shots in Game 6. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but he still finished, you know, with 32 on the night, and it just didn't have any help. He has to take shots. He has to jack up shots because who else was going to score the basketball? Klay Thompson, I think, was 3 for 16. Jordan Poole was terrible the entire series. The Warriors, I think, have to probably get rid of Jordan Poole. I'm going to make a video in the upcoming days regarding the Warriors and their dynasty, and if it's, you know, come to an end or not, so y'all be on the lookout for that video. Now, I picked the Lakers to win this series in 7, but Game 6 was just, it was embarrassing, man, and I felt bad for Curry that he had to go out like that because the Lakers were just, they played such good basketball in Game 6. LeBron was incredible. AD was so dominant on the defensive end and on the glass, even though he only put up like 15, 17, 18 points, something like that. He was just so dominant the entire series on the defensive end, and that's really where the Lakers have a really good shot against Denver, is because of AD's defense, and you just never know with LeBron James. You never know what you're going to get, man. So let's move on to these predictions. Let's start off in the Eastern Conference with the number 2 seeded Boston Celtics versus the number 8 seeded Miami Heat. I'm sorry, Heat fans. I hate to do it, but your run ends here. I think the Celtics will get out of this series. I do think it's going to be close. I don't think that the Celtics are just going to run over the Heat like a lot of people probably anticipate. But this Heat team just doesn't go away, man. They battle. And shout out to the Heat. Shout out to my Heat fans out there. The Heat, nobody predicted them to be there. I didn't predict them to be here. But they have fought and battled, all without Tyler Hero, because they have the best coach left in the playoffs. They probably had the best coach going into the playoffs with Eric Spoelstra, and he just makes adjustments. He always capitalizes. He looks for ways to win, and the Heat have done that. Jimmy Butler did not have a great second round against the Knicks. He was solid, but he didn't have a spectacular round like we saw against Milwaukee, but they were still able to find a way to win. And then on Boston's side, they're so inconsistent. I do not trust Joe Mazzulla as a coach. You don't know what Boston team you're gonna get, but at the end of the day, they are still a far superior talented team. They are a better team from top to bottom. So I do think, with home court advantage and everything, I do think that they will get out of this series, but I do think it will not go less than 6 games. I think Boston will either win in 6 or win in 7. I'm not gonna pick which one. It's going to go 6 or 7. Now, in the West, we probably have the most exciting matchup. I think a matchup that we have kind of all been waiting for. The 2 clear-cut teams, best teams in the Western Conference, you know, minus the Kawhi and PG-less Clippers, because in my opinion, I think if they were healthy, they would have been in the Western Conference Finals. That's a different topic for another day. We ain't going to talk about that. But this matchup between the Nuggets and Lakers, it's going to be a dogfight, man, and I am so excited to watch this series. Now, I'm hoping the NBA doesn't dick me over and put every single game on at 9 and 10 o'clock at night, because I'm not staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning watching these games. But we got Joker versus AD. LeBron is going to be LeBron, and I think this series is going to come down to which of the role players and which of the other stars step up that's not named Joker, LeBron, or Anthony Davis, and you could even throw Jamal Murray in there. I think this series is going to come down to if the Lakers get production from their bench and from their other role guys like Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, Dennis Schroeder, and then I think on the Nuggets side it's going to come down to if they're going to get production out of Michael Porter Jr., Bruce Brown, KCP. This series is going to be so fun to watch. And again, I'm praying I can watch the games. I'm going to try and stay up as late as I can. But listen, man, I ain't going to stay up to the crack of dawn watching these freaking games. But I do think that the Nuggets will prevail in this series. And I think they will win in maybe 7. It's going to be 6 or 7, man. I don't think this series goes less than 6 games. Pick it in 6, pick it in 7, whatever you want to do. I'm not picking either one. It's going to go 6 or 7. I don't know which one. So that would leave the Celtics versus the Nuggets in the NBA Finals. I will not give a prediction on that. I will do a prediction video once the NBA Finals is set in the future, within the next couple weeks, once we see the matchup. I'm gonna pretty much leave it there, man. I just want to go on here and do a kind of a quick recap of the semifinals, talk about the, you know, the conference finals and everything, the bubble, all that stuff. Y'all leave your thoughts down in the comments. Who do you see going to the NBA Finals? Drop a like on the video, and I will catch y'all next episode.